What's up, everybody? Welcome to the side scheme. Doing something a little different today. Um, I'm gonna do like a how to play video for a new card game I'm really excited about. It's called Runeslingers: The Awakening. It's a new trading card game. It's currently on Kickstarter. Um, it's something I found like on my Facebook feed, and it looked cool. Um, I entered my email address. I got two free print and play decks, which are these two decks here for these two Rune Slingers. Um, but I really fell in love with the game pretty quick. It feels fresh and unique. The cards, the colors, it really pops. It looks good on TTS. And it's got some cool, fun, unique things going for it. So I thought I'd go through like a quick how to play. Um, so first off, this is the field. This is where you play. You can see there's some slots here for concentration. Concentration is the resource system for the game. So how concentrations work is you have a 5 card hand, and you will take one of your cards and put them face down as a concentration. So then you can pay for other spells, right? So I have one concentration, and this costs one. The little the number one next to the little yellow dot lets you know that costs one light. So then you would exhaust the concentration to generate a light, and then you play that on top. And then once the effect takes place, then it gets discarded. Might be getting ahead of myself a little bit, but alright, so Runeslingers, you play as a Runeslinger. So these are character cards. They are double-sided. Both of them are. So these are the Runeslingers out of the starter set. The starter set comes with all 4. And then there's these things called stances and abilities. These are class locked. So this says Striker Stance. Roman is a Striker Runeslinger. So he can only use Striker stances or abilities. So this is like a way to customize your Runeslinger to fit your deck playstyle. And then here, these numbers is your power. So you start at 5 power, and when you get to 0, you lose. This is your health. Everybody starts at 20 health. When your health goes down to 0, you lose a power. When your deck empties and is in your discard pile, you shuffle it, create a new deck, and you lose a power. And then over here, there's one more way you can lose a power. So you can lose a power by damage, you can lose a power by decking out, or you can lose a power by ailments. So something kind of unique to the game is the ailment system. So there's, I think, 6 different types of ailments: insanity, debilitate, curse, weaken, fragment, and burn. We'll look at burn first. So if I get burned by an opponent, once I have 1 burn, every time I get burned, I lose 2 health. And then once I get 4 or more burn ailments on me, then my abilities here have no effect. And then once you get 8 ailments, there's what's called the ailment phase. So here you can see the ready phase is like when you unexhaust everything. And then the ailment phase, if you have 8 or more ailments of any kind, they can be combined. So I could have 5 burn and 3 fragment. Well, I lose these ailments. I lose 8 ailments, but then I also lose a power. But every time you lose a power, you gain one of these little green things. It's called a determination. It's kind of like a building catch-up mechanic, and that's what this says on your striker ability. It costs 2 determination. This one does, and then I can place him. This is the one I used on a video I played with Kennedy Hawk from Marvel Champions Monthly, Plunder. So it's 2 determination, and then my opponent, I can look at the top 4 of any deck, and then I take one, put it in my hand, and the rest go to the void. The void is like a banish zone. It's like when you deck out, if there's cards in the void pile, they don't get shuffled back in; they stay out. So there is kind of a mill strategy, but you're not. It's not an MPE because the player just cycles their deck so fast. Yeah, so we'll go through the. So there's some keywords. But yeah, so when you play the game, the setup, you shuffle, you draw 5 cards. You place 1 card down as a concentration, and then the first player will draw 1 card, and then they can place another concentration. So you kind of start the game on 2. So you can see this is striker rune spell. So this is striker attack, striker trance, striker boon. I could play any of these striker cards in. I think this is a Runeslinger. So I could play any of these striker cards in a Runeseer deck. The only thing that striker class locks is the abilities and the stances. And if you load in the GTS mod, you can see over here, there's more striker abilities and stances that if I wanted to customize the TTS deck a little bit, but I'm just using the pre-made decks for the purposes of this video. One more thing on the Runeseer card is there is a block value. So how blocking works is if my opponent is attacking me, I can discard 1 card from my hand to block that much damage from the attack, and I can do that once per turn. The only way that you would not be able to block an attack is if something deals direct damage. I'm seeing if I can see that on the player reference card. I don't see it on the player reference card, but yeah, I lost my train of thought there now. But if something deals direct damage, then it can't be blocked. So yeah, you have your concentrations, the ailments. So there's these things called boons. So you see it says ailments and boons. So if I have an ailment with, we'll say it has three things on it. If I play, like this is boon, I can play this for 1 on top of the ailment. Right, so boons are annotated by that little like potion symbol. So this one's called Steel Skin, and it's a defense card. And defense cards have this value in yellow on the top right. So I would play this boon on top of the ailment, and now this ailment doesn't take effect. It's like I don't have it, as long as this boon is on top of it. And then my opponent can target this boon, and if it deals at least 4 damage, then it's destroyed. Now damage done to it. So if there was like 3 damage dealt to it, at the end of the round, it would go back to 4. The damage is not persistent. It resets itself. But yeah, so that's how that works. And then the different ailments. So burn, every time you get 1 applied, you lose 2 health. And at 4+, then your Runesinger have no ability effects. Fragment, your defense cards have -1 defense for each fragment. And then the 4+ is your maximum hand size is 4. Weaken, every time a weaken is applied, you void 1, so you basically banish it. And at 4+, your trinkets don't do anything. So that's not a trinket. Here's a trinket. So trinkets are cards that are played to the field, and so if I play this wooden hammer, my attack rune spells deal +4 damage while I have 10 less health. Now this will stay in play, and it'll cover. So with the concentrations, if there's nothing on it, it's exposed, and if it is, if there's a card on it, it's covered, I believe is the correct term for that. Exposed or used. Okay, so exposed has no cards on it, and used if it's horizontal. Alright, so this is not exposed, it's covered, and this concentration stays used. So at the end of the round, when I reset my stuff, so if I have like 2 concentrations, and we'll say I play that spell, this goes away, and then the next turn already, my concentrations, but this stays horizontal and covered until this is destroyed. And you can have a maximum of 6 concentration. Maximum of 6 concentration. I'm just trying to think. I'm kind of doing this. It's like middle of the night. Kids can't sleep. So I'm just figured I'd do this quick. But yeah, there's cards with keywords, so you can see what they do there. You can pause it. Yeah, and then the rule book is a pretty good rule book. You can get a PDF for this online too. But I'm pretty sure this is like the starter deck rule book that'll be in the starter rule book. So it comes with, you can see what's going to be in the starter set after it. The Kickstarter ends, which it's already fully funded. It's met its funding goal, and it's burning through this stretch goal. So you can see each Runeslinger, Ava, and Remy come with a 30 card deck. They come with their stance and abilities. The starter set also comes with health dice, ailment dice, a bunch of dice, and determination tokens to track. Also, if you need to track, explains power, how you lose power. I went over that. Tells you about the Runeslinger card, the different abilities and stances, parts of a card, card types. There's rune spells. Whatever that. Prepare the field. Shuffle the deck. I went over how to play cards. Oh yeah, so if you see something that has this red use icon, it means you have to exhaust it to use it. Let me see if I can find. Maybe I have one. Yeah, so channel, for example, so that costs 1 to play. It has a defense card, and it says charge. So charge, if we look at our little thing here, says once per turn during your play phase, you may add +1 tokens to this. So this comes into play. It doesn't have any tokens, but I can charge it and add 1, and then that use with the red circle and the arrow, it means you exhaust it to use the ability. You cannot use it the turn that it is played. Stuff with use, I can charge it the turn it comes into play, but I can't do the use ability the turn that channel is played. So that's something to know. Yeah, and I showed you the little light symbol already. Ailments and boons, and it goes over how boons basically block the ailment. It goes over the phase of turns, went over blocking. Yeah, so the phase of the game, so the ready, you activate all your stuff, then you go to the ailment phase. If you have 8 exposed ailments, you remove 8 and lose power. Then you draw 2 cards from your deck. Your maximum hand size is 8. You can pass your turn. So like sometimes you will go through like cards if you're playing a bunch. So let's say I draw 2, it's my turn. If I don't really want to play any of these, I can pass my turn and get another card. So it's a built-in way to try to build your hand back up, because I've had games where I'm using abilities to pay for big abilities, because you'll have like some cards that cost 2 or 3, and then I'm down to like 1 card on my turn, and I'm like, well crap. So then I'll pass and draw 3 to try to build my hand up again. So that's kind of nice. So when you do that, you skip your entire play phase. So you can't play concentration, you can't use effects, you can't do anything. And then discard phase is the end, the last phase. All rune spells you played are discarded, and all defense cards you use are discarded. If you use an ability on your Runeslinger that has a lingering effect, that ends at the end of the discard phase unless it says otherwise. So you can generate light like all at once, so there'll be cards that give you extra light. So I could like expose both these to generate 2 light, play 1. If I don't play anything else, then that extra light is gone, obviously, and it doesn't carry over. We went over blocking. Your field, I went over the field. The ladder is how they do like a queue kind of, or stack. They call it the ladder. It basically works like it's basically a stack. So if you're familiar with how ability stacking works from like Magic the Gathering or something, they call it the ladder here, but it's basically like a stack. Triggered effects. So there's how would they call it, answerable actions. So stuff with a shout keyword. So if my opponent plays a spell against me, I can respond to it by playing a card that has shout on it. So shout lets you like play things on your opponent's turn, which makes it an answerable action, and then at that point, like, the ladder is created, and then you go from there and resolve everything. Targeting damage. So the game is it's pretty simple to learn and play. The card art is all the runes. So the backstory for the game is you're a Runeslinger, and these runes have awakened in the last couple hundred years or something, and they radiate with magical power. And certain people that are attuned magically, if they go out in the world and find where these rune stones are at, they get, they learn an incantation or pass a trial, or do something to learn the magic from this rune spell, from these rune stones. So then you play as a Runeslinger in a yearly tournament called the Fete, where Runeslingers come to compete to see who is the best, the strongest Runeslinger. So yeah, all the card art is these like stones. Sometimes you'll have weapons and the trinkets and boons that like you've imbued the magic onto items instead of yourself. So that's the idea, is that you're a Runeslinger in this tournament. You've been wandering the world looking for these magical rune stones to gain their power, and then you're going and competing in this tournament against your fellow Runeslingers to see who's the best Runeslinger. But yeah, it's pretty easy to learn. Like, the goal of the game is to get your opponent's power to 0. The TTS mod's pretty nice because everything's right here, right? So you have the pre-made decks ready to go, and there is stacks of cards over here, so you can customize your deck and build custom decks. I haven't done custom deck building. I've just been playing with the starter decks, and they are pretty well balanced. They're pretty even. When I've won and when I've lost, it's been, a turn or two either way. So I haven't had any blowouts with the starter decks. So they did a really good job constructing the starter decks, in my opinion. But yeah, it's pretty easy. You roll dice, see who goes first, draw 5. First player only draws 1 card on their turn instead of 2. So during setup, you would draw 5, put 1 down as a concentration, and then if I go first, I draw 1. If I go second, I draw 2, and then I can play another card down as concentration. So you basically start on turn 2, and then generate light to pay for spells and boons if I had an ailment here, trinkets, and yeah, and then you try to defeat your opponent. And just a little recap: the ways your opponent loses power, or you lose power. You have 20 health. If your health goes down to 0, you lose a power. You gain a determination, and your health goes back to 20. If my deck is in my discard pile, I have nothing in my deck, I reshuffle, create a new deck, lose a power, gain a determination. If I have 8 or more ailments, let's say I have 9 burn ailments, when it gets to my ailment phase, which is before my turn begins after I activate all my stuff, I would lose 8, so I would go down to 1, and then I would lose a power, and I would get determination. And determination is what you use to pay for your abilities, and those are usually really strong, powerful effects. It's a catch-up mechanic built into the game, and your striker stance is a passive effect that is always active throughout the game, and then your ability is something you activate and pay with determination. These cards are double-sided, so you can see there's this Hera Runeslinger. She's a Hexmancer, and then since she's a Hexmancer, I would not be able to use the stance or abilities. I would, since they are class locked, I would go over here and find a Hexmancer class and ability. So the stance, so Potent Toxin seems pretty decent. If they have 4 more ailments, they lose 4 health. And let's find an ability we like. Search your deck for card with ailment or ailments in its text. Reveal it to all Runeslingers and add to your hand. You gain 1 light. Increase the number of ailments under target boon by 3. Pyteo, Star Runeslinger. Target Runeslinger skips. I kind of like Overgrow. So normally you cannot increase. So if I have these ailments here and I have a boon, right, and like blocks these. So if I have 1 here, if I have 1 burn, this blocks the 1, and I can't normally, like if a burn is covered, or any of these ailments are covered by a boon, if the same ailment is applied, it creates a new, it goes into a new slot, and you can only have 4 different ailment slots taken up. So then if this one got 3, right, I'd have burn 3, but this burn 1, but this burn 1's covered, so it's like it's not even here, but it still takes up a slot. If this is destroyed, then these combine, and then this would become a 4, right? But with the way this ability works, Hexmancer ability, Overgrow, you increase the number of ailments, but so I pay 2 determination, right? And then I make this go to 4. That way, when I destroy the boon, then it combines for bigger amounts. So it's a good way. And then with the Hexmancer stance at the end of an enemy Runeslinger's turn, if they have 4 more ailments, they lose 4 health. So I kind of like this. Maybe I'll custom build a deck with that. But I was just trying to show that the things that are class locked are the stances and the abilities, the cards in the deck. Don't matter unless otherwise stated, which I don't think is a thing in set 1. But what you see here from the rulebook over is the contents of the 2-player starter set and everything. Everything from the rulebook over is also what is in the print and play 2-player starter deck set that you can get by entering the email. I'll have the link in the description below, but that's it. I know it was this video is probably probably all over the place, but I just wanted to do a short kind of quick how to play video because this is a game I'm really excited about, and I don't know if I'm going to continue covering it under the side scheme or if I'm going to do it under a different YouTube channel or not, but for now this is going to be on the side scheme. So as always, stay scheming champions.